Hello everybody, it is I'm So Cutie, and today we're going to be talking about another card tech. We're going to be talking about Peter Pan, the Neverland Trickster. This card saw a lot of play in sets, I think it was like 6, 7, where we had Green Blue Cow and Bend to My Will, and then this Peter Pan at the top. So this Peter Pan has seen play before, and I think that we should just tech it back in. So that's kind of why I'm highlighting this card. I do think that aggro is becoming super popular right now, especially a lot techier aggro like Amber Steel and the Packer Dogs. And let's just get right into it. So again, I did make the prediction that Emerald Sapphire would have a crazy uptick right before CCS, and as we did see, it did. Dogs did show a really good conversion ratio, but unfortunately did not top cut, but Amber Steel did. And then Amber Steel went to go on to win the PBG 15K, and then it has seen a crazy uptick there as well, and that also brought a crazy uptick with Pete, right? So the meta is dominated right now, again, by Blurple, which I do still believe is probably the best deck in format. It just has a lot of good outs, but a very close second in my belief is probably Purple Steel, and then Amber Steel by like a very close second. And we're also seeing a crazy uptick in Pete, right? And also with this weekend after PBG 15K and just different 1Ks, case events and things going on, Dogs is doing crazy well. It has won a couple of 40-player, 50-player events. This deck is doing really good. Every deck has Chromacon. Every deck might have Circle of Life, but for sure you see the Lady Tramp combos all the way through the lists. So like 45 card similarities between all of them, which is pretty crazy. I did actually see one of them absolutely destroy a Purple Steel at the case event that I went to Chicagoland. But yeah, so we're seeing a crazy uptick in this, which means we don't really want to be interactive, and they're trying to lock us out from board wipes or 2-for-1s with things like Unknown or Under the Sea or Heads Held High, or, you know, Strength of a Raging Fire, Beat King Undisputed, things like that, right? And that's exactly why I wanted to tech this Peter Pan. Because in lists where it works, the likelihood is that you run a really heavy Reckless package. So probably the main list is this green-blue list that I was practicing with. So at first people did have Louis, but they took him out. But putting him back in and then having this to be like a 5-drop, where 5-drops in green-blue are very lackluster. You have the Rapunzel. The Reckless chain starts a little bit, right? They'll probably lose a character here. This might be able to attack a character, right? This has to quest, so this is kind of making up for that lack of on-play effect with the Rapunzel. So that's already 3 characters answered. Then you come into the on-play John Silver, and then you come into the Peter Pan, and now you have 2 characters that are continuously locking characters out, and then 1 character that requires 1 character to attack. That is pretty insane. That is a crazy lockout. I've done it a couple times. I've locked out a Purple Steel at about 17, 18. So things that they kept top decking just couldn't produce lore. So if it was like a rose or whatever, and then I would just throw it back, because then that rose can attack, and then the second rose that he might draw into can't, have lore. Also in a Blurple, people have been playing the Warded Ratigan. So when they play Warded Ratigan and kind of think it's like a checkmate, I'm just like, alright, here's Peter Pan, by the way. So get through that. So it's a pretty fun thing to have at the top end. It's a really good checkmate engine, especially when green-blue struggles to control the board after board wiping. Sometimes, they find the dock in a daisy, and then how do you answer all of it? It's just about questing proactively, giving them Reckless, and then having a Peter Pan, which is just crazy. It's been super good. Obviously, this list doesn't run You're Welcome, but I actually found that You're Welcome isn't that crazy. It also doesn't have Develop. Develop would probably go in for, like, this Donald and then 1. Probably maybe even this Donald, just because you don't want to give cards. But yeah, and then I just made another Reckless. It doesn't have the Peter Pan, but another Reckless list in green-purple evasives. This is also really good. I tested it just a little bit. Not as much as the green-blue, but it's been doing really well. Yeah, so this is like the lockout chain I just kept going for in the green-blue build. It was like, sale, whatever. Then you go Louis, boom. Honestly, Louis can answer a lot. Like if you're correctly placing the Reckless, if you place the Reckless on something that is not the 3-drop, right? And the 3-drop, something has to kill Louis, otherwise Louis takes 2 characters, right? So the 3-drop is likely to sing, therefore you blocked the 2 lore that they're doing. And now the other 1-drop that you targeted with the Reckless can't quest. You've now stopped 4 lore as you are the ramping deck looking for the board wipe. So it's super good, right? If this lives and then everything quest and then the Daisy runs into it and it dies, you now don't have to worry about that. And then this character can hit another Daisy for 4. Super good. Chromacon also does not work with him because it's an on-play effect. So if they were to Chromacon this so it couldn't clear something else, you just play it again, Reckless something else. Super good. It does straight go, because you'll be on 4 ink, then you go on to 5 ink. It's not on play, but it is whenever you quest, which is super good, because then this would be answering 2 things, because this doesn't have its on play. Alright, go to the next turn. This is probably gone. You quest for 1 thing Reckless, play this, 1 thing Reckless, then you just Peter Pan, and it's basically wraps, because, again, you have more cards in hand now, right? You probably can Under the Sea now, because they tried peating you, but you just Recklessed out. You didn't need the Under the Sea. Now you can Under the Sea. Now you can put another John Silver down. You can put another Rapunzel down. You can go wide, and you can be questing and just locking stuff out. Or you can just play your Basil, your Hades. It's just super good. In a list like this, it's kind of the same line up until the John Silver, and then you're just playing the purple package to just absolutely control the board. They can't do anything. You're spreading damage because of the Reckless. They're hitting you with Reckless, and now you're just moving the Reckless damage to another character. This one is super fun. Again, I only tested it like 5 games in best of 3. Probably like a 50% win rate. But again, I just kind of like threw it together, threw it in. So I didn't like fully test it and change numbers in this. But it was super good regardless. But this one for sure was really good. Honestly, I'd probably just remove these 4 and put back the develop. I think when I was practicing, I did actually use develop, and then I produced this list. But they were both really good just because Baymax has to get to the end of the sea. But again, Peter Pan is just such a good tech card that used to exist, that should exist now because of the uptick in so much anti-action and aggro, right? Because if we're seeing so much anti-action with Pete, and they take a turn to Pete instead of like Lady super wide, and you're like at the point where you can like Reckless, you're like, okay, I don't need a board wipe yet because I can Reckless. And they're like, oh, dang, like I just used my Ursula or my Pete, and you didn't even need to use your Under the Sea and stuff. Now you're just blocking on my lore, and I just wasted my turn getting wider, right? And again, if they do go wider, then you're visioning developing for the Under the Sea, and you're just Under the Seaing them anyways. So it's actually a super good lockout tactic. Again, with VOD, it would be super clear, like what I mean with the lines and stuff, and the math. Sometimes the math doesn't really make sense in, when somebody's just explaining it. On the draw, if they open double or triple daisies, you are kind of cooked. There's nothing really you can do about that. On the draw, if they do not open double daisy and they just go daisy and ala, you actually do survive. I've played that line a lot of times, and it actually works out really well. So I do think that's super viable, this lockout chain. You maybe don't need the Rapunzel, but I do actually like it a lot because proactively, again, since you're struggling with a lot of card draw in this deck archetype, because you're not really opting for Clarabelle in the aggro matchup, Rapunzel is just a really good way to continuously build the board or build your lore while you're questing. And so if you just kind of ink out and then have no cards in hand after you play this Peter Pan, you're actually in a really safe position with just the Rapunzel and the John Silver. So this also stops Go-Go, Rose, Cobra. So all those cards are seen play. Pete is lame. Pete and Ursula are just in crazy upticks. People are playing them at 3 and 4 now. So it does stop green blue. It murders green blue. But again, if they opt into those lines, but you're not actually leaning on those lines, you have now successfully baited them and blocked a lot of lore that you did not have to deal with, because not only are these only questing for 1, now you can just target the other characters that are questing for 2 or 3, obviously. So it is viable until every matchup. Again, I played green blue into Blurple, and sometimes they just have a lot more cards in hand. Obviously, you'd be opting for Clarabelle and such, but if they play like that Radigan, I had a player go to like 13 and then play Radigan, thinking that he locked me out, and then I just had like a Peter Pan Reckless, and then he had Elsa, and he had to like keep inking to keep his Radigan alive and stuff, and then I just had a second Peter Pan, and then I got to get rid of his Radigan and stuff like that. So it was super good. Questing plus Reckless, again, proactive. It is an inkable tech, so again, in the matchups where you do not need Peter Pan at all, you can just ink him, which is super good. And you can just opt into Clarabelle anyways, because Clarabelle is broken. It's just a huge checkmate. When they're out of cards and you under the seed them, and they're looking for that Cobra, that Rose, or that Go-Go to just, boom, win the game. Oh, I have Peter Pan. You can't really actually do anything, and you're getting everything Reckless, and you probably lose. So, it's a huge stinger, because if you just go on Curve again, and then they're trying to, like, Pete and Ursula, you just get to the point where you can, like, visions develop for the Under the Sea that they might have stripped or just never seen, and you've never seen, and then you just win the game anyways, right? It, again, nullifies all these burn decks that are going through. It remains consistent. All you're really doing is putting in the 2 Peter Pan for some slot. Otherwise, it's still the same thing, right? You're still looking for the board wipe, you're looking for the Clarabelle, and it's just matchup dependent. You know, all the text that I put in for this lockout to exist is all inkable, and it all makes sense, and it's all proactive in a lot of matchups. But again, it's so easy to opt out to just like very traditional lines of play like Clarabelle into all this because everything is inkable. So it actually works out really well. The cons are that, like, I guess the line is expensive, so if the hand is really bricky, you kind of get messed up. And the play curve is a little bit more telegraphed, especially in the aggro matchup. I don't really necessarily know what they would do to stop it, because Chromacon is a very demanding card, but again, your cards are demanding them literally in the game to challenge on their turn, so it doesn't actually do much. So even though it is telegraphed, it is kind of not preventable unless they're like on ward or like obscure sphere and stuff like that, which people don't play. So I don't really see a problem. Hand economy is pretty bad. Again, you kind of probably have to pocket the big Clarabelle or some sort of like vision stuff, just because like at the very end you are going to be top decking a little bit. You're probably going to be like maybe 2 or 1 cards in hand, like rotating and cycling. So you just kind of have the Clarabelle at the very end. But again, in the aggro matchup specifically, you're kind of already playing the top deck, because you're not really going to get Clarabelle value. Again, it's not really, it's kind of why I don't like Your Welcome, because you really need a big chain of things to be out. You kind of need Basil to be out as well, and you need Clarabelle and stuff, but they can just find burn and more wide boards, or like Pete, Double Daisy. Like, you kind of probably lose, because if they're at 19, pushing 19, you can't really stop it anymore. Again, it's just it's not even that spicy of a card tech. We've seen this Peter Pan in play before. It is super good, and I really hope that people start taking it in, because I do believe Green-Blue should still probably be in the top 4 of the best decks. I don't think that Amber Steel should be there. I think it should be Trinidad, because in terms of that matchup, I do feel like Trinidad has a higher skill ceiling and more play lines into a lot of matchups over Amber Steel. I do hope to see Green-Blue still be around the 3rd, but I do believe that Purple Steel is really close at overtaking best deck in format. Even though it didn't top cut, I just believe that it has so much utility that it shouldn't really lose. But Blurple, by far, represented in like every top cut, getting second to these Trinidogs and stuff. It's just super good. It does get shut down by Chromacon though. Again, though, I just wanted to bring up and highlight this card. It's been super good in testing. Super good. I don't really understand why people really forgot it. But again, I just wanted to highlight it, remind everybody that it's still out there, and Green-Blue is still super viable with all these aggro decks coming out, and Pete's still existing. Like, you know, thinking that you're shut out of the deck. You're not shut out of the deck. Play the Trickster. He's been super good. People doubted me. I did test him. It's just been super good. It's super efficient. It's just like how he used to work. And yeah, thank you guys very much. Just a very quick highlight on a card that I really wanted to see play, and that I believe will keep Green-Blue above all these aggro decks, and kind of nullifies that aggro that's coming up and Pete. So thank you guys very much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one.